Hello YouTubes. I have learned the hard way that there are two essential tools required to be a model railroader. One is this NMRA standards gauge and the other is inside this lovely little package. So I've actually been trying to get one of these tools for quite some time. I tried all the train shows, tried my hobby stores. They never had one when I had the money. And I wasn't willing to pay $30 shipping for something so small. So anyway, someone else was. Stephen David at First Place decided I had to have one. And Stephen sent me insulated multi-purpose coupler height gauge. I finally have one, so you can stop whinging at me to get one. We've got one, although I do seem to have to build it myself. It does say easy to assemble and use. Let's find out. I don't know if there's instructions inside the pack, but I can tell straight away there's a little screw here, so I'm going to either need a Phillips or a flathead screwdriver. But if that's all my instructions, then I do need to be careful how I open this. I don't want to destroy it. Oh, for goodness sake. There we go, destroyed. As long as I don't destroy the instructions, right? Oh, there is instructions inside. Okay, good. Multi-purpose gauge kit. So for once in my life, I'm going to read the instructions now. I did just see a little washer fly off, and I think something headed my way. So I will read them and see what I'm supposed to do with all these bits. Oh, look, we've got two couplers. Not sure why we've got two. Thought we would only need one. Little whisker couplers. And a little bit of plastic. And I thought that was a bulb, but it's actually a little capsule. Don't swallow it. And inside it's got a tiny little, three little springs. I think there's one little, in fact, there's two little brass springs and two little black springs, which I think might be replacements for them. So quite a comprehensive little kit, even just for the couplers. So we've got those two KDs. We've got the base, obviously, with a built-in track gauge, I believe. Little plastic cap goes in the top, screw it down with a coupler inside. Washers, I don't know what that is. Right, let me read the instructions. Back in a bit. Okay, I almost gave up in the instructions because it seemed really easy, but I could not figure out what on earth this dowel was for. So I carried on reading, and basically when that little thing pops in there, you can see how it moves in and out if you press it. This is for measuring the height of an uncoupler. You know the magnetic uncouplers that KD make? So basically you would slide that over your uncoupler, and when this thing pops up, it needs to be level with this part that goes over the top. So all you have to do to install it then is get your coupler. I have chosen the bigger of these couplers. I noticed, well, again, I read the instructions to find out that they are just different sizes. A big fat one here and a not so fat one there. But I've checked my trains and most of them use the bigger one. Height wise, you measure it to the center of the coupler, not the top or the bottom, but the center. These will both function the same. Those would probably look a bit more realistic, but as I say, everything I've got is the fat boys, so we're going to go with that one. So we just plonk that in there. We get our little dowel in, which is already in. Put our top in. And we get our little screw. You can see there that that dowel is going to pop in and out. When the uncoupler is at the right height, this should be flush with the top. It shouldn't stick up. It shouldn't be down below. It should be totally flush, but that's not what I'm building this for. This is really just to get my height gauges, my coupler height proper. I'm not absolutely sure what all the washers are for. It didn't really mention them. Maybe I should have kept reading. But no, I'm not really seeing. I think that's if you really run into trouble with your heights, you can use washers to shim it up. But it should be good straight out of the box. So we just need to screw it together with that one screw that I have lost. Maybe it's still in here. Nope, it's gone. It was going so well too. Right in a sec. Oh, my screw was here all along. I was looking for a black screw for some reason. Anyway, we'll screw that in there. And it does say use a puff of grease in the gearbox, but I really don't know what they're talking about. So screw this in, not too tight, just snug. Enough that your coupler moves freely, but not wobbles up and down, so maybe a little bit tighter. Looks good there. That's pretty much it, and that little dial still moves up and down freely. Before I move on to actually installing this somewhere, these little springs, I think there's 2 of each, and they're replacement springs, and for these little things that we always lose, as you know. So we've got 2 black ones for the smaller coupler and 2 copper coloured ones for the fat couplers, the normal ones, you know. So they'll come in handy. Remember, don't swallow it. I know it looks like a pill, but it's not. Right, where am I going to put this? How about we mount it right here on our programming track? We will still be able to lift it off and check our uncouplers if we ever install them, but for now, let's try it here. First thing I want to do then is try a loco and make sure the loco is at the right gauge. I'll try maybe 3 or 4 locos and make sure they're all behaving properly. And these are all factory, straight out of the box. The couplers should be at the right height. That one looks absolutely perfect. That one's good to go. I'm not expecting any of the locos to be out, but I do want to make sure that our actual gauge is at the right height before we start changing everything to that height. That one looks pretty good too. Moving on. Let's try my favourite chassis. Spot on. And finally, one of my favourite gifts from Greg Dean. Real grand. I forgot what you call that. Not a legacy. Heritage unit. Oh, right, see, there's a slight problem there. The trip pin on that is hitting the trip pin platform. So that coupler's actually a little bit low, or the trip pin is hanging down, because the coupler itself looks at the right height. So I might just bend up that trip pin, because it would go on there. Let me quickly do that off camera. Okay, let us try that again. And I think the difference is that this has got a Bachmann Easy Mate coupler on it, if that's what it's called. I think that's what it's called. So that should work now. I've just bent it up a tiny little bit. Perfect. So you can see the coupler height is right, and the pin just bending up very slightly makes that work perfect. So I'm happy that this section there is at the right height, and we can start measuring all our rolling stock and maybe stop all that uncoupling I've been having recently. For example, this is actually a brand new auto rack I got from Colin, and you can see how much lower that coupler is on the auto rack, and this is brand new, so that needs adjusted. The pin barely scrapes over the bottom plate. It's not bad, but I do have other new items like that are obviously been badly made from the factory. So having this gauge is really going to save a lot of headaches. Now there's several options to change the height of the coupler. You can buy a low shank coupler or upper shank. Basically, the shank comes out of the vehicle, and then either the coupler is offset upwards or downwards. So that's an option. Another option is to shim the coupler body on the unit you're trying to change the height of, either up or down. Usually down. It's going to be quite difficult to change it up. But I think in this particular case for this one, these wheels are absolutely tiny, 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 tiny wheels. And I'm wondering why they've put such minute wheels on They look even smaller than the regular 33-inch, I think it is, wheels. So I think the easiest option for this particular auto rack is just to change the wheels over, and that should increase the height up to where it's supposed to be. But lots of possibilities. But now we've got a standard. We've got a standard to follow with this little coupler height gauge. So thank you very much, Steve David. I mentioned Steve quite a lot before. I will leave a link in the description down below. Steve supplies me with all my HO and 00 cars, and they are absolutely awesome. I was going to show you that, but that was actually from someone else. But this, for example, school bus. So that's what Steve does. Link in the description. He's in Canada, but it's not really Canada prices. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. So thanks again, Steve. Thanks for watching, everyone. Back to work.